Good evening, and thank you for joining the Hudson 7 Drinking Water Council's meeting. Today is Thursday, August the 20th. My name is Rebecca Martin, and I am the Water Quality Program Campaign Manager for Riverkeeper, an acting coordinator, as well as non-voting member, and a co-organizer with Town of Hyde Park's Deputy Supervisor, Neil Krupnick, for the Hudson 7's virtual meetings. Before we begin, we would like to go over a few general meeting guidelines and abbreviated procedures. The procedures are available in full on the Hudson 7's meeting page on their website at www.hudson7.org. The Hudson 7's meetings are recorded and streamed live on their YouTube channel. A link to their page can be found on the meeting page as well of their website. The public is advised to subscribe to this channel to receive notifications when meetings begin. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the Hudson 7's website at a later date. If a member of the public would like to participate during the public comment section of our Zoom meetings, audio or video, pre-registration is required. Written comments may be submitted to be read on the record too. For more detailed information on how to pre-register and submit public comment, please visit the Hudson 7 website meeting page. For those who pre-registered this evening, once you are logged in, you will be placed in the virtual waiting room. The moderator will let you into the meeting at the appropriate time. You can watch the proceedings of the meeting via the live stream link while you are waiting. When you enter the meeting, you will be muted to give you time to turn off the volume on the YouTube link to prevent feedback. You'll be asked to state your name and your municipality. Hudson 7 council members, please control your own mute button. Good practice would be to mute yourself if you are not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. If a Hudson 7 member wishes to speak, please raise your hand and the Chairman Gary Bassett, will call on you. Before you speak, please state your name and your municipality, the municipality that you represent for any audio listeners. Lastly, at tonight's meeting, we have in attendance the Hudson 7 Chair, Village of Rhinebeck, Gary Bassett. We don't have Jay, but we have from the Town of Poughkeepsie, we have Bill Carlos, Town Board Member. Hudson 7 Secretary, Town of Hyde Park Deputy Supervisor Neil Krupnick. From the City of Poughkeepsie, we have City Administrator Mark Nelson. Hudson 7 Committee members, Town of Poughkeepsie Board members, Bill Carlos, as stated. City and Town of Poughkeepsie Water Plant Operator and Technical Advisor, Randy Allstat. Town of Esopus Supervisor, Shannon Harris. Town of Rhinebeck Supervisor, Elizabeth Spinzia. And those are our voting members. We have a quorum. Non-voting members, have I missed anyone? On the Hudson 7, okay. Non-voting council members, Hudson 7 non-voting council members. We have Dan Shapley here this evening, the Director of the Water Quality Program. Riverkeeper's Technical Advisor, Paul Melrose. We have Ulster County Department of the Environment Representative, Europa McGovern. Okay, and on behalf of the Hudson 7, I now turn the floor over to Chairman Gary Bassett.
Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to see such a great participation in this very important meetings that we have in protecting our Hudson River watershed. So first on the agenda is the approval of the July 16th meeting minutes. I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as recorded by our Secretary, Neil Krupnick. Do I have a second? Elizabeth and Spengia, town of supervisor for town of Rhinebeck. Second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand signifying aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right, minutes are carried. Next thing on the agenda, communications. I believe Sebastian is here, right? Sebastian Grimm is here. Sebastian, climate science and policy candidate from BARD, is here to talk to us. So Sebastian, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Turn your audio on, Sebastian.
Thank you, Mayor Besta. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Sebastian Grimm, and I'm a graduate student studying climate science and policy at the Bard Center for Environmental Policy. I'll be graduating this spring, and I'm seeking to develop a master's thesis which creates a research paper in collaboration with a municipality, community, and public water supply facility team in the Hudson Valley who is interested in reimagining and advancing the energy and water sustainability of a local drinking or wastewater treatment plant toward promoting environmental justice. My thesis would culminate in a grant proposal, allowing an opportunity to pursue an actionable project over the long term. To give you all a little bit more background and explain what I have in mind, this past summer, I worked as a research fellow with the National Hydropower Association, which is a nonprofit that organizes research and engages with policy regarding safe and innovative hydroelectricity strategies. For this position, I wrote a report on the potential for conduit hydropower development in New York. And this study works to investigate the legislative and technical-based challenges involving the expansion of conduit hydropower in the state. Conduit hydropower itself is the integration of hydroelectric turbines within pre-existing water supply infrastructure, which work to recover otherwise wasted energy and provide public water supply facilities a source of non-intermittent clean power on site, along with cost savings associated with reducing power needs from the grid. In addition, this technology can lead to increased renewable energy access for the local grid through the export of surplus power generated by conduit turbines. One example of the combined energy and economic benefits that conduit hydropower can provide is demonstrated by the Sand Hill water treatment facility owned by the San Gabriel Valley Water Company in California. This is actually the longest operating conduit hydropower system in the nation and was launched in 2013. The facility has a 310 kilowatt capacity and generates about 1,000 megawatt hours per year. In 2018, the facility's conduit hydropower energy production was able to supply their entire energy needs, and the San Gabriel Valley Water Company made an extra $12,000 from Southern California Edison in return for selling the excess energy they produced to the grid. As an outcome of this research, I felt inspired to orient my thesis toward working to ally with a community who is dependent on a water supply facility with inadequate or unupdated treatment systems that faces the need for funding, along with the team operating the plant, and that both are interested in developing a linked clean water and energy resilience strategy to revitalize the infrastructure. So my ambition for this project are kind of through 4 steps. First, I would like to determine if the given drinking or wastewater treatment facility would even be eligible for integration with one or multiple conduit hydropower turbines by working with the plant's team. Second, I would like to model the energy generation and cost savings potential. And third, depending on the capacity for offsetting the facility's energy demand and to even sell excess power, I want to develop a plan to use those additional funds toward improvements to the infrastructure, treatment technologies, water quality monitoring equipment, employee benefits, or really anything else that would be important depending on local interests and needs, which I would aim to discern based on discussions and interviews with local NGOs, policymakers, and community members. Lastly, the 4th step of this plan would be that if excess power generation is possible, I would like to work to ensure that the renewable energy produced is accessible and effectively shared. I want to use my thesis not only as a research project and, of course, stay at my degree, but as well as a grant proposal, which could be submitted for the 2021 to 22 round for several grant programs I've identified. I was able to interview the deputy director from the Division of Engineering and Program Management at the Environmental Facilities Corporation, and he told me that a project like this would certainly be of interest for their Clean Water Grant Program. To start, I would like to connect with 3 municipalities who are interested in pursuing this plan, and based on information about the water flow of their local public water supply facilities, use modeling software to determine where the most effective opportunity for conduit hydropower would be, according to the energy and financial-based projections. I then want to focus in on collaborating with the community and facility operation team I identify to be the most able and willing to pursue this project, and then work to develop a comprehensive roadmap for developing this kind of 4-step strategy that I described, and of course, gaining the funding necessary. So if you're interested in learning more about this concept and opportunity to collaborate with me, I'd be really happy to hear your thoughts and questions. I can also send you the research report I did for the NHA, the National Hydropower Association, this past summer on conduit hydropower more broadly in New York, along with a more detailed description of where I want to take my thesis. Any ideas or contacts I could reach out to toward developing this project would be incredibly helpful to me. And I'll send out my contact information in the Zoom chat. So thank you, everyone. And again, I appreciate you having me.
Does anybody have any questions for Sebastian before we go?
Randy,
Okay, yeah, you hear me? I'm curious, is this deal with this water going downhill? How's this, you do it in a pipeline? So you have to have like it might be really good for a plant that has a source like Kingston and it's high and you can get the hydropower that way. But like for the city of Poughkeepsie, everything's pumped into this system. So there's really, I can't see where it would be able to use it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And so one kind of area where you can add these turbines is, like you said, kind of a drop in the elevation where, you're just taking the kind of potential energy of gravity. But I'm not sure if this would work with Poughkeepsie, but another strategy that has been used in the past, and it actually is what the facility in California that I mentioned uses, is by integrating the conduit or the conduit turbine with pressure reducing valves or flow control valves. So the idea is that, as I'm sure you know, the excess pressure needs to be controlled already within, any water distribution system. And so the turbine could be kind of incorporated within that valve through a bypass loop, or could actually serve the same purpose of reducing, potentially damaging pressure in order to both kind of avoid that repair cost and damage while actually producing energy. So it, has been shown actually to work in a variety of options and even without much elevation. But I guess my, broad goal is to see, where that might fit best, and just in order to focus on one facility, where the most energy and of course savings might be possible. But to do that, I guess I have to check them all out or check out a good variety. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Shannon had her hand up next, please.
Thanks. I had the exact same question because our water treatment plant is at a low point and we have to pump it up into town. I guess I wondered what qualities and characteristics would make a good subject study for your project, and if you had considered other places maybe that don't manufacture water, but like Kingston, use gravity from other sources in the mountains that bring the water in and the flow, or looking at dams, like we have a Eddyville Dam. That I just wondered what qualities or characteristics you're looking for.
Sure. Yeah. Again, a great question. I think really what translates into the electricity that can actually be generated renewably is, the amount of flow, either, within a range during the year or per day. So, million gallons or whatever other, measure. And in general, California, along with Oregon and Colorado, are kind of the leading states in using this type of technology in their public water supply systems. And from about 3 to, anywhere beyond that, but generally 3 to 8 million gallons per day has, been enough to make the, kind of short-term costs of the construction and, other expenses worthwhile in the long term in terms of the energy saved and as well. If excess energy can be generated, then the revenue from selling that power to the grid. So really, the kind of main characteristic is just based on the amount of flow, because it can really work successfully whether or not there is an elevation difference. Of course, that would be kind of ideal opportunity, but integration with these valves, or in even water pipelines or lines that don't have much elevation, based on the pressure, there can actually be a significant amount of energy generated, especially from these really crazy kind of new turbines that just over the past 5 years have gone beyond what a normal kind of dam powered turbine would do. And they're considered inline turbines that are meant for pipes and meant to harness the pressure rather than just the kind of gravity difference based on the elevation. Does that answer your question?
Paul, I saw your hand up next. You're on mute, Paul.
Okay, Sebastian, I looked at this when I was designing a system in Connecticut where there was a tremendous drop and I had to put in control valves to knock out the pressure. And I looked at it, and this was maybe 10 years ago. So maybe the turbines have improved. The one area that I can think of in this particular area is Rhinebeck delivers water to Rhine Cliff. And if you can remember where the train station is in Rhine Cliff, it's quite lower than the main part of the town. I would imagine that the flow is not very significant, but the drop is tremendous. Something you might want to look into. I don't know if Gary, you have any added discussion on that.
Yeah, actually, the issue we have at Rhinecliff is a pressure issue, right? Because even though it's the close proximity to the plant, it's the last one on the supply side. So we pump everything up to our high point on Hiley, and everything's pressured down. So we have to put in pressure reducers in Rhinecliff to be able to manage that pressure. So if this is an application that could be applied somehow in line, there might be a way, as Paul suggested, to make it work.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And like I said, I think an elevation drop would be a perfect application. But I think in the end, whether it's elevation or in one of the pressure reducing or flow control valves, it really depends on the flow of water coming through in the end. And so what would be great for me is to get some more information out of anyone who's working directly with these plants, or is willing to kind of spare a little time, because during my research fellowship I was able to gain some familiarity and use a modeling software that the California Energy Commission recently put together, actually this spring. And so kind of based on even the flow and some upstream downstream pressures, a couple other characteristics, I can model at least what a preliminary energy projection might be. And I think that would be a great way to start, is being able to access some of that data if possible, and then narrowing down my search from there, because it's maybe hard to believe, but at least from what I've read and from the interviews I've done over the past 10 and even 5 years, the technology really has revolutionized and changed considerably, especially with, like I mentioned, the inline turbines. And so I think it really can be applied to a variety of different situations and applications. And so the question is really, how much water can kind of flow through the turbines themselves in the end. So thank you both for your points.
Sebastian, I'd be interested in having another, side conversation to see if this application could fit in our infrastructure.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
Why don't I connect you two? I'll do that.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
sure. And Sebastian, if you could just send me all your contact. I have your email, but
Okay, yeah,
any more contact info that I can share with the group?
sure thing. Is it okay if I send a message to the chat?
Sure. You could do that too, but I'd love it in an email. That's always best.
Sure, I'll do that. Thank
But
you.
maybe we could share for everyone too.
Just to give you a little bit of background, we just completed a complete engineering study that we worked with Dutchess County Wastewater Authority, which paid for a grant, and who's making recommendations. And the timing would be perfect to talk to them.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I was actually able to have a short phone call with Bridget Barclay, who I'm assuming you're familiar with, the director of the Water Authority in Dutchess County. And she told me the same thing, and I sent out an email last week, and I'm sure everyone's busy, but it also stuck out to me that if you guys already have a plan and have done the research and are interested in this development even over the long term, it would be great to connect. So
Okay.
that sounds good.
I mean, the first goal would be to help you. All right. Then we can figure out how to make it work.
That works for me. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Sebastian? All right. Thank you very much, Sebastian. That was very informative. I'm looking forward to contacting you. So
Thank you.
next on the agenda, we had Jessica Cohn. I don't see Jessica online. Is that not been scheduled? Is she not scheduled tonight, Rebecca? Do you know?
No, I don't have Jessica here unless Neil sent it to you.
Yeah, Neil, is she on?
We have Europa McGovern here who wanted to
Right.
speak, I believe, for a moment.
But
Jessica.
Jessica has not contacted me.
That must be a little older agenda.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Remember, we move on to reports and actions on old business. Okay. So the first thing we had was an update on the,
Gary,
what's going.
sorry,
yeah.
excuse me. Europa McGovern signed up for public comment, who's here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the public comment. My fault. I jumped over that. Thank you. All right. We're open for public comment.
All right. Well, I think, as you know, I'm attending the Hudson 7 meetings generally month to month on behalf of Ulster County's Department of the Environment. So again, just want to let you know all that I'm here. And then also, I just wanted to let you know that I consulted with my colleagues about the water source protection mapping that you'll be pursuing as part of the drinking water source protection framework that you'll be pursuing. And just so you know that through Department of the Environment, we'll be able to coordinate the mapping on the Ulster County side. So I guess I would foresee that. I see that you're going to soon have Dutchess County representation. So I would think that at the point when we're collectively ready to pursue the mapping with or without the state consultant support, we can kind of collaborate directly with our county partners in Dutchess to move forward with the mapping. And that's all I had. Oh, the last thing I wanted to mention was Ulster County also has a water quality coordinating committee. So just to let you know, we reported out on the Hudson 7's progress to the last water quality coordinating meeting as well. And we'll be actually having a public meeting on October 19th for that committee.
Perfect. Yeah. So do you know Brad Barclay at Europa? Yeah. So
Yes.
Brad is our Dutchess County counterpart to you. Unfortunately, doesn't look like he was able to join us tonight, but I think the next step would be to link the two of you together to talk about the mapping. Right?
Great. I can actually reach out to Brad directly to see where we're at in the process. And then I don't know if it's Dan or who it'll be that'll sort of coordinate that process as we move forward with it. But that's great.
I know I saw Dan give a thumbs up earlier. I don't know if that was a nod to help coordinate or agree with that we need to link everybody together.
Linking more than coordinating, but I mean, I'm happy to help see it through. I think Europa, you're I think familiar with the framework. So I hope it's a matter of following the path that's laid out by the state in the framework for drinking water protection. And if the counties can collaborate, that'd be great. But I'll help any way I needed.
So Europa, you'll reach out to Brad, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Will do.
super. I love that. Okay, is there anything else for public comment? Neil, any others?
Nope, nobody else.
Okay. All right, now we'll go back to reports, action, and old business. Hudson River Source Water Protective Initiatives. So an update on what's happening with Central Hudson, Randy. How's that?
So we have an item for that, Randy, July 22nd project status and a call update to start.
We can't hear you, Randy.
We've lost your audio, Randy.
No, not muted.
There you go. Now we got you.
Okay. Now you got me?
Yep.
All right. So you want an update on the dredging, right?
Well, we had two agenda items. One was the project status, the call you had on July 22nd.
Okay, what they're doing is they're setting up a plan for dredging this year. They're planning on getting back into the river in September. They're going to start dredging the end of September, early October in an area that's not contaminated. So they're just testing the dredging the technology. The technology they're using is a siphon, so it's it's a suction dredge. So it's not going to have the clamshell kind of messy thing. So that seems better for us, but I'm still very concerned about how they're going to do it. What they're going to have to do now is they're going to have to treat the solids. So they built a water treatment plant and a solids processing plant on the river there. And they're also putting solids processing into barges. They got a lot of work to do. So then they're planning on starting by October, the end of October, early November, they're going to get into the contaminated areas. That's the plan.
You know, we still don't know when, right?
When the end of October, beginning of November is for the contaminated area.
Oh.
They're planning on starting dredging at the end of September.
Oh.
Central Hudson's putting together another report that they're going to distribute next Wednesday, I believe. That report will have more information and it's going to respond to all the questions. It's been interesting that the health department is very active and DEC is very active in commenting on this project. Majority of the contacts and majority of people on the call are from the health department. So it's good to see they're serious now.
Dan.
Ask a question. Do you know if the report coming out Wednesday has any formal process associated with it for public comment, or if not public comment from the, I guess, you all, or is it some other process? Because typically, like if I remember when they actually came up with the original plan that failed, there was a whole process and opportunities for public comment and review of those documents. So I'm wondering if you're aware of what process they're sort of using.
They're going to have this out on Wednesday, and I think they were hoping for comments back by the following Friday. I think I did send out the latest report to the committee, but I can send you more. I mean, as soon as I get it, I can send it to you if you want.
But Randy, they weren't soliciting public comment, though. I was with you on that call. I didn't get that impression. They wanted non-public comment, correct?
I think they've been pretty open, and if there was issues that Riverkeeper had that they wanted to bring forth, if they can't bring them forth directly, they can bring it forth through us.
Sure. I mean, I would imagine that's true for Riverkeeper, but I'm curious, following up on Dan's question, did you get the impression that Central Hudson was going to entertain public comment at any time prior? No.
No, they're moving forward with their dredging, and I think the public could get involved if they wanted to ask questions with Central Hudson. But as far as going out for any public notification, I don't believe that'll happen.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Randy? Paul?
Is there any possibility that they could meet with the Hudson 7 like they did the last time, you know, just kind of an informal briefing on the report?
I believe Mark would be glad to. He wouldn't have a problem with that. They do have plenty of PowerPoints that they could show too. So I mean, if that's interested, we could do that. If we looked at the September meeting, that would just be the beginning of the dredging. So we get an update.
All right, so is there a nod here that we should invite them to our September meeting? Seems kind of important, right? All right, so I'm seeing enough head nod. So Rebecca, can we put that on the schedule for September? Invite Mark?
Recommend that you also invite DEC and DOH to be there at that time so that you can ask, test anything that you get from Central Hudson and make sure that your state agencies that are overseeing it are, in concurrence.
Okay, good idea.
Gary,
Okay, the next item on the agenda was for me. I did send a letter to Douglas McNeil, DEC, in regard to the process of the coal tar site. I have not received a response back. I have not been bugging him, but I could follow up again if the board feels that's necessary. Thoughts? All right. So again, no response, but no from them from the DEC side. Next item on agenda. Randy, it's you again for the Hudson Power Express.
I think the latest thing I sent out is that they got delayed by another year. So
Yeah.
that's the direct burial line that's coming from Lake Champlain.
Are we gonna? We've talked about this briefly in the past about some of the hazards associated with burying this electric line. Is there another chance for municipalities or communities to engage in this process before it's done?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that they have come to the Hudson Safety Committee multiple times, I believe now. So they're out there and they're willing to talk. I do have some contacts if you want something.
Shannon, you're muted.
I was gonna say, are we entitled to do some kind of FOIL request? I mean, I think we almost have gotten the letter with the case filing saying it's filed, and they're doing the 330-mile long high voltage direct connect transmission line in waterways and upland areas. Can we request some sort of map or plan to show where it would go to know if any of us will be impacted?
I haven't seen a map yet. I know that they have different locations they're looking at, and a lot of it had to do with avoiding environmental hazards rather than, water utilities, but yeah.
Well, at our last meeting, we also talked about making sure they're avoiding our intakes, right?
That was the last memo I got, is that they're going to do a big mapping. They're going to locate all the intakes. We've given them the coordinates of our intakes, but they're at the last memo I saw was they're planning on coming to look at everybody's intake and make sure they get it located at the right place.
Rebecca.
to Shannon's question though, can we think about a FOIL and where would it go? I mean, somebody might have more information that's available or no?
You might want a FOIL. If they're going to send it, somebody maybe it would be the Coast Guard that has regulation over this line.
Well,
Riverkeeper's been following this project for a long time, and I don't know offhand if it's the Coast Guard or if it's Coast Guard plus 7 other agencies or whatever, but I think probably, Rebecca, we could follow up with John and he would know.
Well, why don't we go through the process? Randy said they were willing to talk if they're out there. Why don't we ask them on a future meeting to come and see us?
Okay.
What do you think?
Yes, and we may want to check with the Public Service Commission because they would be required to file any maps with the Public Service Commission. And it sounds like they've had hearings held on the initial route and an alternate route. And I assume there was various public and private entities that gave testimony at these hearings. And this should all be in the hands of the Public Service Commission as a go-to entity to maybe get this information. We really just need a map to know what we're talking about.
Well, let's ask them to come to the meeting and give us the map. What do you think?
Great, we'll invite them.
All right, so, all right. I think we got a little bit of time, but let's put, Randy, if you could give contact so that we know who to reach out to.
Yeah, I can dig that out.
All right. Oh, yeah, let's invite them in. Invite them to our house. Okay. Next on the agenda, the Hudson 7 presentation to New York State American Water Works. Paul, you're muted.
Sorry again. I was supposed to give you guys a presentation, but I had some family issues and some annoying clients bothering me, so I never got to it. Dan sent me a lot of good stuff. I think I have a lot of the material. Randy's got the video. I think I have pictures of everybody's storage tanks and treatment plants except Lloyd, which would help me to get some pictures into this. So I'll try to see if I can contact Lloyd. And AWWA said they have no problem with me delaying it a month. I thought Dan had some good suggestions because the presentation has to be an hour long. 8 to 10 minutes is going to be the video by the city of Poughkeepsie. So I think that's taking up a lot of people's time. And Dan suggested maybe having a subcommittee look at this, or we do it after the September meeting and anybody who wants to stay on could do that. But I think Dan had some good suggestions so that everybody's not involved or doesn't have time to do it.
So Paul, I thought since we're pushing this out to September as you had, and I'm sorry for your family issues. I hope everybody's okay. But I would suggest that we wait after your presentation and then discuss how what next step is, or do you think that's too late?
I don't really know. It didn't seem like AWWA was that concerned about when I got this to them. So if you want to delay it, it's fine. What I'd like to do is give the presentation, get your guys' approval on it so that, what I'm really trying to do is push other towns throughout New York State to do something similar. I know Dan's been trying to do it on the Mohawk River, but all the Finger Lakes could use something like this. A lot of other areas. So I'm really trying to promote what you guys are doing, which I think is fantastic.
So let's rather than following with the subcommittee, my question was have your presentation, get approval to go forward, and then we can have further discussion. Okay?
Okay.
Does everybody agree with that? Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite clear though. I think Paul wants feedback before he gives the presentation to AWWA, right, Paul?
Yes.
Is there maybe a time that if anyone's interested in helping to give that feedback to Paul, that maybe raise your hand so that Paul can reach out to you and find a time that works? And I'm happy to join that team as well. But I think then you can touch base again after the AWA presentation on how it went, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Randy raised his hand.
So Randy,
Bill,
Dan.
and Dan raised their hand, I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we just have the presentation
Neil.
after our next meeting?
That's an option.
Yeah, you'll have it before the next meeting. And Neil set up a site so that I could download it to, so anybody who wants could pick it up and take a look at it. And we could probably do this by Zoom. I can put the presentation up while I talk through it. So I could set up a Zoom meeting or a team meeting, whatever.
Okay. All right, sounds like a plan. Thanks, Paul. Okay, Elizabeth. Update on municipal code review.
So that's Emily Swenson.
Oh, it's Emily. I thought it was Elizabeth. Forgot.
Yeah.
Emily. Yeah, Emily can't make it this evening.
Right.
No. All right, so sorry about that. New York State Drinking Water Program. I think, Dan, you're the closest to figuring out what's going on with the DWSP2, right?
Yep, and I'm exactly no closer than last month in knowing anything new. So nothing to report, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think we're surprised, right? With everything that's going on, I think this is all going to be a delay. All right. So the next item, was that you, Dan, as well? For
Yeah, that
Devin
would be
Regino?
Dan, I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
Yep, if you wanted to give an update, Dan, on Devin Rigolino, the Senior GIS Project Coordinator of the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, an update on GIS.
Right, so this is the same subject that Europa brought up. One of the first steps in the source water planning is to do a new mapping that would identify potential risks. And Dutchess had to, through Devin, had expressed some interest initially. Then he kind of expressed some reservation about pushing forward. So I hope that Europa's outreach will then turn that back into a positive response to want to push forward. But so it's a little bit in limbo, and hopefully Europa's outreach to Dutchess Department of Planning will be just the thing to get it moving.
I think that thumbs up. All right, thank you, Dan. Okay, item 2, water operators. I think this was on me. I was supposed to get a letter out to all of the water operator plants during COVID and assistance. So I did not get to this, so I need to push this off. Apologize for the delay. But anybody have any questions or anything about it? Okay. Moving on, coordination, Dutchess County Representative Brad Barclay. Well, Brad's not here, so
Actually, Gary, we missed one item.
what I missed?
Equipment share?
Yeah, but I think that was also on me because that was wasn't that part of the letter?
No, actually, the equipment share is different, and Randy submitted a letter today.
Oh, I didn't see that yet. I haven't been on the email.
Randy, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that.
Well, the thought was that we should develop lists of equipment that we could share in the event of one of our facilities had an emergency. So today I sent out a list of the things we have at our water treatment plant. Maybe the other municipalities can share that with their operators, and maybe they can develop a similar table like that. And then we could all share the information. And then if someone comes up, we could give it. And when you see something on a list you need, you can give it a call.
Okay. I'll do that. I'll do that for the villages as well. Thank you. All right.
If you want, I can show it really quick, just if you'd like to see it, Gary. Would you
I'm
like?
sorry, what?
Would you like to see it quickly?
Sure, bring it up. I haven't been on my email. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So what we listed here is the various pieces of equipment that we have. You can talk about our tractors and our trailers. So we got the big long trailers that we can haul things with. Things that are, we have a 6 MGD portable pump and a 1 MGD submersible pump that might be helpful of some kind. And then we have a bunch of stuff that we have. So just give people, if people had questions more and needed more detail, we can provide it.
So Randy, the thought would be, how would you like to coordinate that? If somebody was interested, what is the process for contacting people and how much lead time and et cetera?
Typically, when you're in an emergency, you don't have much lead time.
Right.
It would be, we'd have contacts at the various, like, if someone needed something on my list, they could just contact the water plant, ask for me or whoever they would find someone, and then we would get that equipment to them somehow. Either they come and get it or we deliver it. But we, that would be my thought, but it never, you just have to see how it works out at the time. But if for instance, say that the village of Rhinebeck wanted to do something that needed to move a lot of water and needed some pumping facility, and you were going to coordinate, and you said that one MGD pump could really help us out, then we probably could make arrangements to get it to you. And then we could pick a time and get it done. That would be fine. We would work with you like that.
Okay. Paul.
I think I did it right this time. I just wanted to remind everybody that in Hyde Park, Greenfield had a major failure of their sewage treatment plant. They had a building burned down and they lost a lot of their equipment and are having a hard time meeting the effluent standards for wastewater. So I think this is a really important issue and I'm glad that Randy's working on it.
Thank you. Shannon, do you have something?
Yeah, I recall on this item, I said that I would check with Ulster County and ask them for their shared services agreement. Now, I'm hoping since Europa's on the Zoom call, she can help me put our hands on the latest shared service agreement with the county between highway departments. I know that Tim Wiedemann was working on shared service agreements prior to COVID. And I know during those meetings, it was discussed that already there exists a legal memoranda that maybe we could tailor. And if we have one already in place between us, it would be a matter of jotting down which piece of equipment we're borrowing and probably sending the legal memoranda and that equipment to our insurance company to get approval for the temporary borrowing of that equipment per this agreement that we have. It just might protect us from an insurance standpoint. I know that when I borrow equipment from the county, I like to have it covered and insured the days that I borrow it, because usually the equipment is very, very expensive equipment. And if for some, God forbid reason, something goes south and the equipment breaks, I would like it to be covered by my insurance company so that we don't get angry with each other.
Shannon, in Douglas County, we have a shared, with the county, we have a shared equipment plan already that's existing. I'm wondering if we could use that as a model as well. So I'll look for that.
That would be great. And we'll just tailor it to Hudson 7.
I'll look for that.
And once we get the list, then we can take that list back to our water treatment operators that Randy has put together so that they can see what kind of equipment they have and also offer up whatever we might have. I think you're going to have the master list always though, Randy.
Yeah.
I'm still in awe by the camera that you have on your intake valve. And we have divers going down to check out our intake valve. And I told them I want to see some video.
We have videos of our intake from the divers.
Yeah, it's cool. Oh.
We just, Shannon, you're doing that. We just did ours. We just had the divers down, do the intake and do our storage tank as well.
Oh, that's great. That's what this is in preparation for water infrastructure improvements. And we are doing a storage tank as well. How did it go?
It went very well. I mean, we found some issues that we got to take care of in our storage tank. Obviously, knock on wood, we don't have any leaks, but the ladder was corroded, needs to be replaced, and we need to do some additional cleaning inside the tank. But at the intake, it went very well. So we've been doing this on a 5-year basis, sending divers into checking both those places.
We do ours annually.
Really? You think I'm sorry for the divergence, but do you think there's a need annually?
I think we found things, so we feel better annually. I guess you can, that would be where your intake is and what kind of potential you have out there. But we found that it works out good to just do it annually because of the reliability.
Good suggestion. I'll take note of that for us. Okay, thank you. Funding. Is there any, I don't know what we have for funding. Any suggestions? I don't think we have anything, right?
No,
Who's
it's
gonna share?
just a placeholder, Gary.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Right, and
I
again,
haven't
the
heard
ongoing,
anything
are
new
on
on,
the
the asteroid.
placeholder on the milestones. I thought we had that pretty well nailed down to the top 3.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of now trying to put effort on them, right, Randy? I mean, Dan?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the agenda is organized around them now. So you've been making progress on them all night.
Yeah. Okay.
Dan, did you have something to say about funding?
Only just, I haven't really heard anything new, different from last month about state funding through the asteroid program, which is where we've been hoping to look for putting in the grant application for coordinator. And the only thing I did hear, there was some positive story in the paper just yesterday about the Environmental Protection Fund not being rated. But that also doesn't mean that the money that's in it gets dispersed. So it's still kind of a question mark about whether they will have a grant program this year. As we know, we had expected that in June when they normally have it, and it didn't happen. So I have a meeting, I forget if it's next week or the week after, with the Asteroid Management Advisory Committee. So hopefully we'll have a little more information after that.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about was the bylaws, and this was back to, I think it gets back to Europa's position where it's, and Brad Barkley, where we have them by county. We basically have amend our bylaws to talk about it. I remember right, was to have the counties represented it and not as a person in case people change. Was that, do I have that right?
Yes.
Everybody remember? All right, so the so the question is, having a brief discussion here on, do we want to amend our bylaws to improve them so they have a regular seat on the board, non-voting seat?
Gary, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
I think we could read through the A, B, and C proposed changes and maybe vote on them all together if there aren't any questions. Vote on amending the bylaws. There is a 30-day or agree to be voting on the bylaws. I think the real vote is next month, according to the bylaws. 30 days with the exception of, that's something that we also need to discuss. But tonight we would agree to these changes, and then next month we would vote according to the bylaws. So we could just review them and then vote, and then agree that next month in 30 days we'll vote to amend these items.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, so it's a great idea. So let's open basically all 3 up for discussion then.
Right, so the first is propose having Dutchess Planning and Ulster Department of the Environment listed as agencies that assist with source water actions in the current definition. And so the council can designate a non-voting member from each. A revision to the bylaws might be usefully made to note that agencies can be granted standing seats that are designated by agency and not by individual. So it provides the Hudson 7 with the option. It's sort of an evergreen clause in a way. rather than naming the person to the seat, as you just explained. B, to amend amendments. Right now, it says that all changes to the bylaws need a 30-day window before a vote, and we wanted to propose 30 days with the exception of membership changes outlined in the document, meaning that if, for instance, Russell Gilmore has now been appointed along with Neil Curry for the town of Lloyd by the town board. They've passed a resolution. So being able to quickly add their names to reflect the changes, since Supervisor Paul Hansit is no longer there. So making those kinds of changes, or being allowed to make those sort of changes without the 30-day wait period. That's what B means. And then C, to make amendments, the council from time to time can adopt, amend, or repeal all or any of these operating procedures of the council by an affirmative vote of the majority of the total voting members upon written notice at least 30 days prior to any council meeting. I'm sorry, I think that that's just a note to explain B that should have been indented. So there's only 2 amendments to vote on, in other words.
So I'd like to make, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the proposed changes. I have a
Next
second.
month.
Second.
Bill Carlos, second. All right, any discussion? Having hearing none. All in favor? Aye by raising your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, so carried. Very good.
Great. So we'll have the official vote next month. Thanks,
Yep.
Gary.
And the town, what is this town of Lloyd resolution for Russell? That was the change, name change.
So
Right.
when municipalities appoint members from the municipality to represent themselves on the Hudson 7, they pass a resolution to make it official. And so the town of Lloyd officially appointed Russell Gilmore, who is the deputy supervisor of the town of Lloyd, and Neil Curry, who's been with us from the very beginning, who serves as the chairman of the environmental, the ECC, for the town of Lloyd. So they're both officially appointed to serve on the Hudson 7 as voting members.
All right. And we don't have to vote on that, right? Or,
Nope.
right? Stop. Okay. Any other discussion? All.
I am working with the churches in northern Dutchess and northern Ulster County in doing a walk for water for the Hudson Valley. And I thought you guys might be interested in this because worldwide, about 830,000 people die from waterborne diseases. And if you put that in perspective, 790,000 people have died from COVID. So the people die from water diseases every year in the same amount that we are all concerned about COVID, and we definitely should be. And like 35% of the world's population does not have clean water or clean sanitation. So the churches are getting together and doing a walk for water on September 19th. And everybody's going to be carrying a bucket of water because around the world, most women have to carry water about 3 miles every day. And that really kind of puts a lot of burden on them because they can't teach their kids, they can't do a lot of other things with childcare and other things. So that's what we're going to try to do on September 19th. So if you see any churches or want to support anybody, I'd really appreciate it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. It is now 6:31. Kind of right on schedule. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So
Do I have a
moved.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Very good. Thank you, everybody, for coming together this evening.
Good to see everybody. Thanks,
Thanks,
Mary.
Gary.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Stay safe, everybody.